Hello and welcome to UPSC Mains PYQ series by Shikara Academy. Now, in this live series, we are discussing all the UPSC Mains questions asked over the past few years. In today's live session, we will be discussing the 2022 GS Paper 1 from question number 16 to question number 20. So let's begin. Now, starting with question 16, question number first. Mention the significance of straits and isthmus in international trade. A direct 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of geography, and it's a application-based question. The question is asking the application, okay, the significance of straits and isthmus, which are geographical features, into the international trade. So, because it's quite a static question uh, with a application or significance approach, so the approach that will be taking in answering such a question is that in introduction we describe what is a strait and what is a isthmus. Okay, so in introduction we describe the strait, we describe the isthmus. Then in body of the question or in body of the answer, we write the significance of straits in international trade and the significance of isthmuses in the international trade. So in the body, we will be addressing the demand of the question. We'll highlight the significance of both straits and isthmus. Then in conclusion, we will summarize the answer. So starting with the introduction, we can write that straits and isthmuses are crucial geographical features. So these are geographical features that significantly influence the global trade and geopolitics. Okay, a strait. Now we describe what is a strait. A strait is a narrow waterway that connects two larger bodies of water. Okay, so a strait is a narrow waterway or is a narrow passage of water that connects two large bodies of water. Okay, so we have these two large bodies, that is two oceans or two seas that are separated or that are connected. Okay, a narrow passage, a narrow waterway that is connecting two large water bodies. Okay, and it lies in between two land masses. Isthmus, on the other hand, is a narrow strip of land. Okay, so strait is a narrow strip of water. Isthmus is a narrow strip of land that links two larger land masses. So just like the strait was connecting two larger water bodies, the isthmus is a narrow piece of land which connects two large land masses, and it also separates two water bodies. Okay, so if it is connecting two larger land masses, so conclusively, it will also be separating two large water bodies. Now, their strategic locations, the locations of both straits and isthmuses, make them vital choke points and trade corridors in the world commerce. Now, we have connected the introduction, we have connected the strait and isthmus with the body of the answer, in which we will be writing the significance. Okay. So, this is a strait, a narrow water body connecting two larger water bodies, and this is an isthmus. That is a narrow piece of land that connects two large land masses. Now we have to write the significance of straits in international trade. So first is maritime connectivity. So the straits, the narrow pieces, the narrow passage of water, the narrow waterways, they serve as natural maritime passages. So these are natural maritime passages which facilitates trade between continents. Example, we can highlight these on the maps also if time permits in the answer. Okay. So there is Strait of Malacca, which connects the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and it handles 40% of the global trade. A single strait, the 40% of the global trade passes through this Strait of Malacca. Then we have the Hormuz Strait, which is a crucial strait for global oil transport in the Persian Gulf. Then we have the Bosphorus as well as the Dardanelles Strait, both present in Turkey. They connect the Black Sea to the Mediterranean Sea and is vital for European and Russian trade. Okay. So, if the time permits, on a global map, we can highlight these important straits. Then their economic and strategic importance. The straits, they control over the straits ensures economic leverage and naval dominance. So if any navy has has control over the straits, so for example, if any particular navy of a country has access or has control over the Strait of Malacca. So that means it can use its economic leverage because 40% of the global trade is passing through that particular strait. The countries often develop ports and naval bases nearby to safeguard trade routes. So many of the countries, they develop ports and naval bases, the integrated military bases as well, in order to safeguard these states, so that guarding the states ensures safeguarding the trade routes. If we take the example of State of Malacca, so our islands of Andaman and Nicobar, they lie very close to the State of Malacca, and Indian Armed Forces, they have uh, command, an integrated command at the Port Blair. Then these are choke points and the vulnerability. Any disruption of any kind, be it piracy or blockade, in states can impact global energy supply and the trade cost. Okay, so any of the mishap or the incident of piracy or blockade by any of the rogue navy, so that can cause a global an issue for the global energy supply and will also increase the trade cost. Okay, because then the trade will happen bypassing that particular uh, strait, and bypassing that strait will add to further cost for trade. The logistics cost and the transportation cost will rise. Then the significance of isthmuses in the international trade. So these are land bridge for trade and transport. So isthmuses, they provide shorter overland routes for goods and people. Some of the prominent examples are Isthmus of Panama, where the Panama Canal connects the Atlantic as well as Pacific Oceans, that drastically reduces the shipping time. Then we have the Isthmus of Suez, which hosts the Suez Canal. And this Suez Canal and the Panama Canal, they enable direct sea trade between Europe and Asia. So the Suez Canal, it enables direct sea trade between Europe and Asia. So the ships, they do not have to travel all the way down uh, along the coast of Africa from the Cape of Good Hope. Okay, so they can take a shortcut. So it, in a way, it connects the Mediterranean Sea with the Indian Ocean, or it connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Indian Ocean. The Isthmus of Panama, hosting the Panama Canal, it connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. Then there is strategic economic zones. Isthmuses often host transshipment hubs. Okay, so because they have these important canals. Okay, so they are important site for transshipment hubs and canal-based economies, and thus they boost regional trade revenue. So in conclusion, we can summarize the answer by writing the straits and isthmuses, they act as the lives of international trade, linking markets, reducing travel distances, and fostering global economic interdependence. Okay, so they make the global trade interdependent on each other. Their control, that is the control of strait and isthmus, their control and management remain central to the maritime security. Okay, so safeguarding the trade routes is the number one priority of maritime security, and safeguarding the straits, the isthmus, and the associated canal is is of paramount importance in maritime security, and it is also very crucial for stability of global trade and commerce. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 70. Troposphere is a very significant atmospheric layer that determines weather processes. How? Okay, a 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of geography, and the topic from where it has been asked is the salient features of world geography. That is, subtopic is atmosphere. Okay, so in the approach, starting with the introduction, we describe the troposphere. Okay, we describe atmosphere. Can describe. We can also draw a diagram or a schematic showing the 5 layers of atmosphere, starting with the troposphere, stratosphere, then mesosphere, ionosphere, and exosphere. Then in body, we address the demand of question, we write the composition and structure of the troposphere and the role of troposphere in all the weather processes of around the world. Then in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer, or we can write the significance. Okay. But we have already written about the role of the troposphere in the weather processes. So in the conclusion, we will just summarize the answer. So starting with the introduction, the troposphere is the lowest layer of Earth's atmosphere. So out of 5 layers, troposphere is the lowest layer of Earth's atmosphere, extending up to 8 to 18 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Okay. So just above the Earth's surface, when the atmosphere starts, it is the first layer. Okay. Average thickness around 8 to 18 kilometers, depending on the latitudes. Now, it contains almost 75% of the total atmospheric mass. So, of all the atmosphere mass, so rest of the 4 layers, the atmospheric mass is only 25%. The troposphere itself, it has 75% of the total atmospheric mass because the density of gases is really high in troposphere. Okay, and it has nearly all the water vapors and aerosols in the of the atmosphere, making it a primary zone for weather as well as climatic phenomena. Because 75% of the atmospheric mass is there, and almost all of water vapors are present in the troposphere. Aerosols are also released in the troposphere, or aerosols are also found in the troposphere. So that makes it the primary zone in the atmosphere where weather and climate phenomena can take place. Then we have to discuss the composition and structure of troposphere. So temperature and pressure. So the temperature decreases with altitude. So as we go from bottom to top along the troposphere, there is a decrease in temperature. Okay, and the rate by which temperature decreases is known as the average lapse rate. Okay, so going from bottom to top, okay, in the upward movement, as we go higher and higher in the troposphere, there is drop in temperature, and that drop in temperature is the average lapse rate, and it is about 6.5 degrees Celsius per kilometer. So going 1 kilometer above in the troposphere, the atmosphere will there will be 6.5 degree more Celsius cooler than the what it was at the Earth, or yeah, on the surface of the Earth. Then this vertical temperature gradient drives the convection current. Now this temperature gradient, okay, the decreasing temperature as we go up in the troposphere, this drives convection currents, and it is these convection currents, these are crucial for weather formation and the formation of clouds as well. Then there is water vapor concentration. Almost all of the atmospheric water vapor is confined in the troposphere, which enables cloud formation and precipitation. Okay? So it is the because of the presence of almost all of the water vapors. So this water vapor enables cloud formation of clouds as well as precipitation. Then there is boundary layer. The upper boundary layer, that is the tropopause. So tropopause is the layer that connects the troposphere with the next layer, that is the stratosphere. So we can say tropopause separates the troposphere with the stratosphere. So the troposphere, it separates the tropopause, it separates troposphere from the stratosphere, preventing the vertical mixing. Okay, so this prevents vertical mixing and confining of the weather system. So the weather system and the climate systems, they do not escape into the stratosphere. Then the role of troposphere in the weather processes. So first is cloud formation and rainfall, as we have already discussed, because the rising warm air cools and condenses into the troposphere. Okay? Because of the convection current, the rising warm air, it goes up, it cools, condenses into the troposphere to form clouds, and the clouds ultimately they begin the precipitation. They begin the precipitation. Then there is wind systems and cyclones. Horizontal as well as vertical air circulation in the troposphere creates pressure belts and the global wind patterns. So troposphere is vital for global wind patterns around the world. These cyclones, anticyclones, monsoons, okay, the tropical cyclones as well as the temperate cyclones, they all develop due to this differential heating in this layer. So all of this, the cyclones, anticyclones, and monsoon winds, and all these winds, they flow and they develop because of the differential heating in the troposphere layer. Then there is energy exchange. Absorption of solar radiation and terrestrial heat drives convection and the hydrological cycle. Okay, so troposphere receives the solar radiation and troposphere the heat. So after uh, heating up, the Earth also emits certain heat, certain rays. So these rays are mostly trapped by the troposphere. So that is why we can say that it is the troposphere which drives the convection as well as the hydrological cycle. So it is the flow of heat and water vapors that drives the hydrological cycle. Then there are human activities and weather impact. So because of human activities, we have air pollution, the pollutants in the troposphere. We have greenhouse gases are mostly concentrated in the troposphere. Aerosols are concentrated in the troposphere. So we can say that troposphere influence temperature and rainfall variability because of all these factors, because of the presence of air, the pollutants, greenhouse gases, and aerosols. So all of them will have ultimately they will have impact on the temperature as well as rainfall availability and the weather patterns. So in conclusion, we can write that troposphere is the dynamic engine of Earth's weather system. Okay, so troposphere is the dynamic engine of Earth's weather system, where interactions of heat, moisture, and air movement. So there are three things are involved: heat, moisture, and air movement, which determines the climate patterns. Understanding its process is essential for predicting weather, managing agriculture, and mitigating natural disaster like storms and floods. Now, this is a forward-looking line that we can write in the conclusion, or the significance of studying the processes that are there in the troposphere. Okay. Now, moving on to the next question, that is question number 18. Now, analyze the salience of sect in Indian society vis-a-vis caste, region, and religion. Okay, a 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. Now, it's a question that has been asked from the subject of society. And the topic is salient features of Indian society. Okay. We have to talk about sects. Okay. The various sects in relation to caste. Okay. Sects based on caste, sects based on religion, and sects based on region. Okay. So in the approach of this question on this answer, in introduction we write or describe the concept of sect. Okay, because the question is talking about sects in caste, region, and religion, so we have to first define what is a sect, or we have to introduce the concept of sect. Then in the body of the answer we'll address the demand of question by writing about sect and caste, sect and region, and sect and religion. And then in conclusion we'll summarize the answer and also write the significance of the sects. Now, starting with the introduction, the concept of sect, it refers to a subgroup. Okay, so sect is essentially a subgroup within a larger religious or social tradition that possesses distinct belief. So within a larger group, okay, the sect is a subgroup. Okay, in India's pluralistic society, India has a very plural society. These sects emerge as a vital social identities intersecting with caste, region, and religion. So, because India is such a plural society, India has such a plural society. Several of the sects they emerged, okay, and they intersected, okay, the caste lines, the region lines, as well as the religion lines, and shaped the country's overall social cultural dynamics. Okay, so these sects they shape country's overall socio cultural dynamics. Now, starting with the sect and caste. Okay, so many sects in India have originated from reform movements. Okay, so many of the sects they have originated from reform movements within the caste structures. So the caste structures are very rigid structures, but in reforming the caste structure, reform movements in the caste structure has led to emergence of many sects. Okay, and these sects then challenge the social hierarchy and ritual purity. Okay, so we can give the example of Bhakti as well as the Lingayat movements. They questioned the Brahmanical dominance and promoted social equality. The Bhakti movement and the Lingayat movement, particularly in the state of Karnataka. Okay, so these are important example of sects separating themselves from the caste. In modern times, we have sects like the Kabir Panthis and the Ravidasis. Okay, the Ravidasis and the Kabir Panthis, they also offer alternate spiritual paths to the marginalized caste, blending caste identity with the religious reform. Then the sect and region. Okay, sect vis-a-vis the region. Regional diversity gives rise to distinct sects, emphasizing on local deities, languages, and traditions. Okay, now here we can give the example of Vaishnavism in Assam. Okay, so region-wise, Assam we have Vaishnavism. In Kashmir we have the Shaivism. Okay, Vaishnavism is associated with the bhakti or the rituals that are associated with Lord Vishnu. Shaivism deals with Lord Shiva, and we have Veer Shaivism in Karnataka, which is popularly known as the Lingayats or the Lingayat people. They follow the Veer Shaivism in Karnataka, which reflect the regional cultural adaptation and the broader Hinduism. So these are the sects within the broader religion of Hinduism. Okay, but region wise they are different. Then there are regional festivals and pilgrimages also reinforce sect based cohesion and identity in the society. Then the sect and religion. Okay, religion is such a concept in which these sects find prominence. Okay, so in no other area of society the sects are so clear. So within major religions, so we have several sects within the major religions. So if we talk about Hinduism, we have the Shaivas, the Vaishnavas, and the Shakta sects. Okay, the ones following uh, uh, the bhakti of Lord Shiva, bhakti of Ma Shakti, and bhakti of Lord Vishnu. Then we have in Islam, we have two major sects, that is Sunnis and Shia divisions are there. Okay, uh, others like Daudi Bohras are also there, but majority Sunni and Shia division is there. In Sikhs, we have the Nirankaris and the Namdhari sects. In Christianity, we have the Catholics, the Protestants, and the Orthodox branches of the church or the Christianity. So these sects, these different sects, they shape community leadership, the marriage alliances, as well as political mobilization. And in a way, they shape the social cultural fabric of the country. Now, sects in the Indian society embody complex interplay of caste, region, and religion. So these sects, uh, they include a complex interplay of caste, region, and religion. They reflect, that is, these sects reflect India's deep rooted diversity, serving both as vehicles of social reform and the markers of identity. Understanding sectarian dynamics, therefore, and the significance of sect is that understanding the sectarian dynamics becomes important because it provides valuable insights. Okay, understanding sects uh, provides valuable insight into India's social religious pluralism as well as evolving social fabric in the country. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 19. Are tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism the key elements uh, in making of an Indian form of secularism? Justify your answer. A 15-mark question that we have to answer in 250 words. Now, this particular question has been asked from the subject of society, and the topic here, the topic in question is the secularism. We have to tell whether the tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism are key elements that have determined the Indian form of secularism. So, the approach that we'll take in answering such a question is that in introduction, we describe Indian secularism. Okay, we describe secularism in Indian context, and in body, we write about the tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism as elements of Indian secularism. And then in conclusion, we summarize the answer and also provide a way forward or significance. Now, starting with the introduction, the Indian secularism is a unique model. Okay, Indian secularism is unique that differs from the Western notion of strict separation between the religion and state. So the concept of secularism first emerged in the Western world. Okay, so basically the Western form of secularism pertains to separating the church from the state. Okay, or the religion from the state. But in India, India's secularism is unique because it embodies a system of equal respect of all religions. Okay, we are not separating religion and state, but our secularism focuses on all the religions. We respect all the religions, where tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism, they have historically shaped nations' social and political ethos. Okay, so the tri-stand of tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism is one that has shaped our nation's social and political ethos and which has developed India's concept of secularism. Now, starting with the tolerance. Okay, tolerance is the ethical base. Okay, tolerance has been the moral foundation of Indian civilization since the ancient times. Okay, since thousands of years back. Okay, tolerance has been the moral foundation of our civilization. So we have philosophies like Sarv Dharma Sambhav, equal respect of all faiths, equal respect to all faiths, and Ashok's Dhamma, which encouraged coexistence and respect for diverse beliefs. Now, this is a tolerance which allows the religious harmony without enforcing uniformity. Okay, so since the ancient times, so we had first we have the Vedic culture, okay, the Vedic religion, then the Buddhism emerged, the Jainism emerged, okay. Later on, the yeah, the Islam came to the country, and later on the religion of Christianity also they also arrived. The Christians arrived. There was birth of Sikhism as well. So these different religions they emerged from on the in our country, and some of the religions they also the Abrahamic religions they have come from the outside. But all these religions they have a tolerance towards each other, and they this this tolerance in the moral foundation of Indian civilization that allows for religious harmony. Then is the concept of assimilation, which is a cultural process. The Indian society evolved through synthesis of ideas and traditions. The Aryans and Dravidian cultures, the Islamic influences, and the Western liberal thought. So there has been influence of every culture. Okay, the Aryan culture, the Dravidian culture, the Islamic influences, as well as the Western school of thought. The movements like the Bhakti and Sufism exemplified this assimilation. Okay, this assimilation of the concepts into the society, blending spiritual ideas across religious boundaries. Now, this process, this assimilation, it created a shared cultural heritage. Okay, tolerance led to the religious harmony. The assimilation led to shared cultural heritage rather than the sectarian divisions. Then is the idea of pluralism. Okay, so India is home to all major religions. So all the major religions of the world find home in India. Also, in these religions, we also have numerous sects. Also, as we have already discussed in the previous question, and the linguistic groups also. Okay, so the Constitution of India upholds the this idea of pluralism and it through the freedom of religion. It is a fundamental right of freedom of religion from Articles 25 to 28 and equality before law, that is Article 14. The state, that Republic of India, the state maintains principled distance, that is engaging with religions to promote equality and harmony. Then, in conclusion, we can summarize the answer by writing tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism. Uh, this plurality are indeed the core pillars of the Indian secularism. They ensure unity. Okay, these three ideas, these three pillars, they ensure unity amid diversity by fostering dialogue rather than the exclusion. So, Indian secularism, therefore, it represents a not a negation of religion. Okay, the Indian idea of secularism is not negative, just like the Western school of thought. It's positive as it believes in harmonious coexistence and respecting all the religions. And this harmonious coexistence, it reflects the inclusive spirit of the Indian civilization. Now, for added marks, you can just make a tripod like this, okay, and write the word secularism here and write tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism as three pillars of the Indian secularism. Now, moving on to the last question of the day, that is question number 20. Elucidate the relationship between globalization and new technology. Okay, we have to illustrate the relationship between globalization and new technology in a world of scarce resources with special reference to India. A very applied conceptual question asked for 15 marks that we had to answer in 250 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, broadly, this question has been asked from the topic of globalization. Okay. Now, The approach that we'll take in answering such a question is that in introduction, we describe the link between globalization and technological advancement because the question is talking about globalization and technological advancement. Okay. Then in body, we address the demand of question by writing the relationship between globalization and technology and India's experience in this field between relationship between globalization and technology. Then in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer. So starting with the introduction, now globalization and technological advancement are deeply interconnected processes shaping the modern world. In an era in which we are living with limited natural resources, both the globalization and technological advancement, they are powerful forces, they are powerful tools influencing production, consumption, and sustainability. For developing nations like India, this relationship is crucial for balancing growth with resource efficiency. Okay, so now we have connected the question, the introduction with the body. So we write more about relationship between globalization and technology. So first is mutual reinforcement. The globalization enables rapid diffusion of technology across the borders through trade, investment, and information exchange. Okay, so globalization is the one which helps technology diffuse around the world. Okay, it helps technology reach to every country. Conversely, the new technologies like the internet, AI, and logistics system, they accelerate globalization. So it's a vice versa thing. Globalization facilitates technology, the diffusion of technology, and the spread of technology. It enhances or it accelerates the globalization by exchanging the ideas. So it enhances connectivity and efficiency. So both go hand in hand. Then there is resource optimization. Advanced technologies help address resource scarcity by improving energy efficiency, waste management, and agriculture productivity. Examples we can give of renewable energy, the precision farming, and the circular economy models that are driven by global collaborations. Then there is economic integration. The global value chains. Okay, the global value chains, they rely on technology driven communication. So the global economy chains or the global value chains, the global supply chains, they rely on technology driven communication, transport, and financial system. So technology drives communication, technology drives transport, and the financial systems around the world. And this ensures optimal use of the scarce global resources. So this integration, okay, this economic integration with of different countries driven by globalization and technology, it ensures optimal utilization of these scarce global resources. Then we can write India's example. So post 1991, particularly in 1991, we started with the LPG reforms, globalization being one of its pillar. In the reforms integrated India to the global economy, attracting foreign technology and investment in sectors, particularly IT, pharmaceuticals, and renewable energy sectors. The Digital India and the Make in India program of the last decade. Okay, so in the 2010s, we started the Digital India and the Make in India programs initiatives, showcase technology-led globalization in governance and manufacturing. And India's solar energy mission and green hydrogen efforts reflect technological adaptation for the sustainable growth. So, in conclusion, we can summarize the answer by writing globalization and new technology, the emerging technology, they together form the backbone of the efficient resource utilization in the 21st century. Okay, both globalization and technology, the emerging technologies, they are vital for effective and efficient resource utilization. For a country like India, the synergy in globalization and technology offers a pathway to inclusive and sustainable development, transforming resource scarcity because we have scarce resources, we have a huge population. Now, this transformed resource scarcity into an opportunity for innovation, collaboration, and equitable growth or the inclusive growth. So, the PDF of these model answers will be available to on Shikara Academy's Telegram channel.